It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with me as well. It is just a shame there were no dramatic games this weekend, Patrick. Nothing really to get to. Joking, of course. Vikings and Gophers football played two of the more dramatic games you'll ever see, and obviously the results were polar opposites. If you're a Minnesota fan, Vikings pull one out on Sunday with their backup quarterback in there. Gophers lose to a backup quarterback, I guess we should say too, when Illinois goes down the field on them to win that game on Saturday, 27-26. Vikings win 31-28. It's just amazing, Patrick. And this Vikings game underscores, Patrick, I'm going to, now maybe I'm joking a little bit here, but we make such a big deal about how hard it is to come in and learn a system for quarterbacks to pick things up. Like, maybe it's not that hard. Maybe a guy can just come in a few days later, just drop a few plays in the sand, get the terminology on the fly, like it sounds like they were giving to Joshua Dobbs on Sunday, and he can go and lead them to the most points they've scored all season.
Yes, and it probably helps that he's not like Kyler Murray and he's in meetings playing games on his cell phone and stuff like that. The guy is supposed to be a genius,
Right.
He's got the brilliant parents and a brilliant guy, and he showed up, and it was also the secret of the NFL yesterday. It's not over till it's over.
Yes.
Is the way it goes. I mean, how can there be a worse start for a guy? Hall had looked pretty good. He's got down there. He gets a hit that doesn't look that bad, but there's a little helmet to helmet. But it was when he hit his head on the turf, I guess, that he got a concussion. So he's out of there. This guy comes in. And first thing that happens is, he basically ends up getting sacked in the end zone for the first dramatic event of his career with the Vikings is giving up 2 points on a safety, 2 strip sack fumbles.
Yes.
It was a disaster. And then the second half, he becomes a hero. It's amazing. And I'll tell you one thing. If I was an Atlanta Falcons fan, that team would drive me nuts. They can screw, as we used to say, they can screw up a one-car funeral. That team, they are such a bunch of clowns, penalties and everything else. But still, they finally put together a drive where they just overpowered the Vikings' defense. They just ran down the field, boom, 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 and all you need is one stop. The worst play they had is they had Dobbs sacked, and they let him get out and run down to the 10-yard line, and that basically won the game for him. But he's an athlete. There's a reason he's been 5 different places in a year. People like his athletic ability. But one of the great one-week Cinderella stories in Viking history, there's no doubt about it. I was trying to think of a comparable, and I don't know if I can. I don't think there is a comparable for a guy who showed up on Tuesday and won a game on Sunday. So
no,
it's pretty amazing. And if Nick Mullens didn't have a bad back, he would have, he would still be down there in Arizona as a backup probably. So it was pretty amazing to pull that one out. And now they're 5-4, and I just looked. The Lions have to go to play at the Chargers on next weekend, and the Vikings are home with New Orleans. They'll be tied for the lead a week from now after starting 0-3 and 1-4. It was an incredible win. There's no doubt about it.
One thing I was interested to see, and nobody wanted to see Kirk Cousins gets hurt, and obviously he is their best quarterback when healthy. But one thing I was curious to see, whether it was Hall or Dobbs playing, was what does this offense look like with a mobile quarterback like that? Someone that can go and make plays with their feet, because that is just not Kirk Cousins' game. I think he's gotten better a little bit at pocket awareness and kind of like shifting around, and he definitely is someone who will stand in there and take a hit if it means waiting an extra 3 or 4 tenths of a second for a guy to come open. But he is not a guy who is going to extend a drive or make a play with his feet. And every single scoring drive for the Vikings yesterday that Dobbs led had a play where he made a huge play with his feet. Obviously, none bigger than that 4th and 7 scramble that you alluded to, where he got out of it and ran for 22 yards, got him down to about the 10. But, he ran for a touchdown. The drive right before halftime, there was like a 3rd and 10 where he got out of it, scrambled, dove for a first down, got him 1st and goal, and they scored that touchdown in Madison. The field goal drive, he had a nice scramble for 15 yards. I mean, he ran for 66 yards on 7 carries. Like, that's just an element that they have not had in years. I mean, probably going back to Ponder mostly. I mean, Ponder could run some. You talking about a guy who was like a true running threat, maybe going all the way back to Culpepper. Like, I don't know. Like, they just haven't had that element. It was interesting to see that mixed into their offense.
And it is interesting how the NFL wants those guys. I mean, they're overdrafting those mobile, athletic guys. All over the league. They're taking a shot at these guys because they want a quarterback that can move. And Kirk coming back with Achilles and probably being more immobile than he is now. I think maybe, I'm not saying the ship has sailed and Joshua Dobbs is your quarterback for life, but I think that, everybody wants a guy who can do that. And yesterday, mobility won the game for them. So,
yes.
The Kirk crowd is not very happy though, because we were having a little fun with them. On Twitter, and they didn't respond well. But I think the first time he ran, I said, "Boy, it's nice to have a quarterback who's not a statue." On Twitter,
it's true. It's true.
Yes, yeah. They don't like that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting because. I think most of the guys that are going to be high draft choices, right, can move a little bit in this.
Yeah, for sure.
In this supposedly quarterback loaded draft. So, and even watching Hall for 5 minutes, it looked like he could get out of the pocket and run a little bit anyway. So, it was an amazing difference, and part of it too is. If Kirk had been the quarterback, they might have gotten sacked 8 times because you didn't have Darisaw.
Right.
Dobbs was under big pressure, but I think he got hit 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, he got sacked 3 times too. But
yeah. So they probably were. It wouldn't have been a good. Now Kirk might have hit Hawkinson 2, 3 more times or something like that, but. They're getting a lot of injuries. The Darisaw the Darisaw thing is not good if that's going to be a more than 1 week thing. So it's just it was one of mark it down. All those people say we never get any breaks in Minnesota. I had a guy send me an email yesterday and said, "Why don't you write a column on why? What does sports world have against us? Nothing. They got nothing. We're like every other place in America. We got our ups and we got our downs. And, the Vikings historically for 63 years have been one of the best franchises. They've won, probably. I wonder if there's the Cowboys and about 2 other teams that have won more games than they've won in 63 years. So it's not that we're star-crossed. It's just that we have fun.
Yes.
Yesterday, the last weekend was perfect.
Yes.
You had the highest high and the lowest low.
Yes.
Everything people want as fans. Vikings, though, man alive, the part of the problem here now is I guess Jefferson's going to be ready to come back, right?
Seems like it, yeah.
He'll be back next week, right?
He's eligible to come back next week, yes.
And they got TV guys, at least, were saying he's chomping at the bit to go.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to.
But Osborne, something happened to him. But so
he
yesterday,
got a concussion,
wherever this Powell came from, he's been a big lift for him too. He's a little tiny guy who can sneak in to make a catch. But it's just a game that when Atlanta goes down. Smashes it into the end zone, takes the lead. You say, they're not going to win this game. And then you're 4th and 7, and you say they really are going to win this game. and then they're going to sack him, and they're
You're like, well,
there
it's just
goes,
about over.
and he gets out of there, and now he
Yeah.
puts down to the 10-yard line. It was God, congratulations to this guy, though. I mean, he's kicked around. He's been treated like he got to play this year, which had to shock him when he got to Arizona, because when he signs there, he thinks he's going to be Murray's backup, you know.
Well, and did you see the guy that replaced him for the Cardinals yesterday? He was terrible. It's Clayton
Well, they
Tune.
didn't score, right? They got shut out.
I think so, yeah. And he was he threw for 58 yards and 2 interceptions. He completed 6 passes all day. It's like they're obviously trying to loot. They had to trade him so they couldn't win, so they wouldn't win anymore, so they can get their new quarterback.
But they're not going to get rid of Murray.
I don't know what they're doing.
Who knows what $45 million?
Who knows what they're doing over there?
Nobody's taking him with Murray's with his reputation. They are the Arizona Cardinals. They had Larry Fitz Jr. there for a while. They had a little bit of class. They snuck up a little. Had about 5 or 6 years. They know what they're doing. But historically, since the Bidwells bought them in the late 40s, they've been the worse than the Lions, which ain't easy. It's not easy to be worse than the Lions. They've been worse than the Lions.
Worse than the Lions. And this Dobbs didn't even know guys' names. He didn't even know that he hadn't taken a single snap from Bradbury all week. Like, he didn't know the guy's names.
Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they have him take some snaps from Bradbury?
Apparently, I mean, they're probably trying to get Hall ready so much because Hall didn't really have much experience with those guys either. Because Hall
can't he run out there for 15 plays at the end of practice?
Probably
and see what his butt feels like or something.
Just in case this happens. So he's taking emergency snaps on the sidelines. I mean, they're probably thinking, okay, this is, it's unlikely, but here's the thing, I talked up the idea of a running quarterback a minute ago, but this is we see it with Hall. This is part of the reason that Cousins has probably lasted so long and has been so durable is that he doesn't run. He doesn't run, and you take more hits in the open field. Hall gets the concussion. You open yourself up more to injury there. So there was that risk in this game, especially with the young quarterback in there who maybe doesn't quite understand the physicality of the NFL. So, yes, I am surprised that he didn't take a single snap with Bradbury, didn't know these guys' names. They probably didn't think they were going to have to use him yesterday because what are the odds that you're going to lose another quarterback after you haven't had one go down for 6 years? But there you go.
Yeah. And by the way, now they think Akers has got an Achilles too. Huh?
Yes. So they lost Akers. Osborne had a concussion. I mean, they were down so many players by the end of that game. It was, you had Powell, Tristan Jackson was playing a lot. I mean, they were down a lot of guys. Although that catch by Addison on the final drive, by the way, was a hell of a catch. That one,
it was. That was kind of rolled the sidelines there like Chris Carter back in the day. One, you didn't think he was going to, stay in bounds or anything. That was a hell of a catch. It was, but. I don't know. It was an amazing win, and we'd have to go through the archives. Maybe when Tommy Kramer came in and picked up the game and won it for Tarkington when Tarkington first got hurt. That famous comeback game of Tommy Kramer way back, first time he really played. But he was the number 1 draft choice and going to be our guy.
Right. This is a guy off the streets. That's right.
This guy off the streets.
The guy they traded for that just came in. I mean, it was unbelievable.
And Tommy, when Tommy came in, he was out of Rice Institute, which, of course, was a high academic school. And we all thought we were getting a genius there with Tommy, too, until somebody asked him if somebody mentioned Delaware to him, and he asked if it was a city or a state. But so I think Joshua could answer that question. But anyway, it's... it was a heck of a win, and Viking. I guess any question of who owns this town was reinforced once again. I would imagine all the bars that had Viking fans in them yesterday were going absolutely insane when he pulled that game out.
I would think so.
I was thinking, there's time that. I remember I covered a lot of Masters there in the 80s, but I didn't cover the one when Jack won. We didn't cover it that year in St. Paul. And I was watching it on my couch and saying, I'm glad I'm not there. I'm not good enough to write this. Let somebody else try to write this. Right. I'm not there. I kind of felt the same way yesterday. I'm not good enough to write this. So I'm glad I'm home laying on the couch watching this game. So.
And I was reminded too that game happened on the 34th anniversary of the game that inspired the Jerry Burns rant back in the day.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah,
the game they won
funny.
The game they won with 7 field goals and an overtime safety.
Yes, and then it's funny how here in Viking land. I mean, the Jer Burnsy thing has always been notorious. But it's only gotten national fame the past several years that people have discovered this hidden gem.
It's amazing. It's one of the best.
It is the best, without a doubt. Somebody said it's got to be one of your top 10 events as a sports writer, and I said at least top 5.
Yeah. So you were one of the ones that got him going, right?
I got him.
You and Sansevier, right?
Sansevier got him going originally, and then he stopped, and but nobody had mentioned putting Schnelker's picture, sideline shot up on the board, and that's what really got him. That's what got him juiced up again. So I was proud of that I agitated him. Yeah, I miss that goofy old devil. I told you I went out to Fort Snelling when they put him in they got a one of those boxes out there that they have soldiers with their diagrammed and stuff, and Birdsy's buried out there, but all 4 of his brother-in-laws were there, and there were only about 2 non-family members, but they started telling stories. It was unbelievable.
I bet.
It was great, but Burnsy would have loved yesterday's game, man. Just as a spectator, we all did. It was fabulous.
It was fun.
Story.
It was one of the most fun games they've played for a while.
And the fact that this guy is such a nomad is what makes the story great. I mean, he's never been since he became in the NFL. He's never had an ounce of appreciation.
No,
really.
he's won one career start, one career win, and just bounced around. He finally he got traded to Arizona in August. He finally, we were talking to him earlier this week.
He was just on practice squads this year, right? Just twice he was just on practice squads. Maybe earlier. Ended up in Arizona. Yeah.
And then he winds up there. He finally gets a place there. Finally, gets all of his stuff from Cleveland, right before he gets traded to the Vikings at the trade deadline. It's he probably thinks he's got at least a few months left in Arizona because he's been the starter for all 8 games. He started for Arizona last week. When do you ever see that happening? A guy who started all the games gets traded at the trade deadline. That just never happens.
You really liked it. Have we got a full explanation about how they landed on him?
No, because they traded for him in the Vikings or the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Vikings. How the Vikings.
I think it was kind of a matter of availability to a certain degree. They were kind of tracking who might be available, and then they saw that Arizona was going to make a switch on Monday, and so that became became an option.
I suppose their theory was, he's been playing, so that's better than getting some guy who's just been sitting there for 8 weeks. And I wonder when they found it, they must have known for a while that Mullens' back was, serious deal, because we were all thinking maybe, Hall will play 1 week, and who knows though? Maybe they didn't want Dobbs in for a week for some emergency,
which happened.
Which happened.
Yes, it looks pretty smart right now. They clearly do not win that game yesterday if they don't have some kind of plan in place, because they would have had to elevate Mannion, I would imagine, from the practice squad. They must not. Yes. They must have wanted to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, because Mannion probably hadn't played in 2 years. At least
he's just there.
I guess the asset of this guy is he's been playing. So
he's been playing. He's smart. He could, if anyone can pick up a playbook in a few days, it's probably a guy who's an aerospace engineering major.
His one win was a big upset, right?
Cowboys.
They've only won.
They beat Dallas.
He beat the Cowboys. Yeah,
yes.
That was the most random game of this season.
Yes,
the Cowboys. They stink, and they beat the Cowboys, who are really good. And so,
and he had the best total QBR of any quarterback in the league so far this week, and he's 17th in the league overall now. He's playing a middle of the road starting quarterback in the NFL right now this year. It's amazing, and most of it's that he makes plays with his feet.
I don't know what the Vikings media plans are. I don't know. They should not wait the starving media to having to wait till Wednesday to get a good. I'm sure he'll be making some appearances on their
Right.
sponsors, on their
Right.
sponsored station and stuff. But O'Connell should bring him out for about an hour
The
today to have
victory
it,
lap. They should.
so people can learn his life story here. It's
Well,
pretty amazing.
so O'Connell can learn it. Like
Yeah, right.
I read that O'Connell didn't even know that he was from Georgia and that was a big deal because he had a bunch of family there.
Yeah,
Isn't that great?
Alpharetta, that's a suburb, right?
I think so. I
I
think
think
so.
that's a suburb. But yeah, the parents are apparently a couple of, they're in a teaching business or something, aren't
Yeah,
they? I
I'm sure
mean,
there's yeah,
anyways,
smart smart
they
family.
talked about him becoming a rocket scientist, but
Yeah,
instead he decided to kick around in football. Former Tennessee Vols, so Chip probably knows all
I'm
about it.
sure, right. Well, he threw a Hail Mary that beat Alabama. I think I saw that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
I think it
then
was
they love him
Alabama or
there
Maybe it
because
was Georgia. Georgia, maybe it was Georgia. But yeah, it was
beat one of those schools. Huh?
one of the big ones. Yeah, back in the day.
Well, congratulations to him. It was easy to be happy for him. Even
Yes,
as a neutral sport writer, it was easy to
yes.
be happy for him.
Grand Casino would like to take a moment and salute the true football fan. The passion, the hope, the anticipation, that incomparable feeling of winning. Grand Casino would also like to take a moment to remind you that you can find all that anticipation, thrill, and winning at Grand Casino. Grand Casino, let your story begin.
And it saved the football weekend if you are a Minnesota fan, because that's that Saturday game, Patrick, the Gophers. Let's transition there. That was basically the opposite of this. It was, you think you've got it and then you don't. And, you'd already seen Nebraska had already lost. Wisconsin had already lost to bad teams, right? Didn't they lose to like
Yes.
Indiana and who
Yeah,
else was it?
Wisconsin lost at home, I believe, to Indiana.
And Nebraska had lost to another bad East team, like the two worst teams in the
Michigan
East.
State. Michigan
Yes,
State.
that's right. It was
Nebraska
Michigan State.
lost to Michigan
Somehow,
State.
which seems impossible.
This was after me saying that Nebraska is the best team
Yes.
in the West, which is small praise.
There's no best team in the West.
Best team in the West. But I did say on Twitter that I said this is the most heroic emergency backup quarterback play we have seen around here in a Minnesota game since John Paddock 22 hours ago.
It's true.
The kid that comes in, I think he came in on 4th and 11, didn't he?
I think so.
When
Yeah,
the
he
guy
came
got
in.
hurt.
Yeah, the game's on the line, and he just takes
First
them.
throw is 4th and 11. Apparently, they played zone and let a guy go to stand down the field 15 yards wide open. And then, as Frank Broyles used to be my favorite when he was on the broadcast with Keith Jackson 50 years ago, because he'd say, "Keith, where was the safety man?"
Yeah.
And that was, was the all-time "where was the safety man" play, the winning touchdown. But
get behind him on that play. Yeah, you can't do that.
They had a chance to go for it, try to put the game away. Instead, they kicked the field goal, so they got what they deserved. They don't trust the quarterback, obviously, and probably for good reason. But it's amazing. I tell you, he's the greatest. Fleck is the greatest contrast I've ever seen, because he's such an outward, bold, over the top personality, and he coaches exactly this different way. He coaches the opposite way. He doesn't coach like Ferenc, but he's close, and it ended up costing him. And did you see the little video of Bielema?
No.
When he came into the locker room?
No.
He came in doing that whole Fleck thing, like jiggling his whole body, and come running in like he was going to cry, like he was going to surf him. And
my gosh.
They were all singing some profane rap song, and he was like, there's a little video of the madness in that locker room. 0-10 against Big Brett.
Unbelievable. 0-10.
But at Wisconsin, he had good teams. In Illinois, last year he had a fair team. But
yes,
you're 0-3 against bad Illinois teams with him coach.
It's unbelievable.
Now, I wouldn't say it was his great coaching that won that game, though. Last week, I mean, they had to remember when they came up here last year. They just beat them 14-7 and punted all day and gave the Gophers offense the ball back. But they had to make some plays to win that game to Saturday. So, it's they can lose to any. I mean, you can look at the schedule and say, well, they can still end up 5-4, except for Ohio State, but they can lose to anybody.
Yes.
Purdue stinks, but they got to go to Purdue. I don't know. They're not good. They're not good.
No,
they were the 50 in this on three, which is kind of the rating thing I looked at. They were 52nd or third in the league 2 years in the country 2 years ago. They were 14th in the Big Ten. So, people say, recruiting doesn't mean what it did, transfer portal and all that stuff. Well,
still means something.
In the last 2 years, the final numbers last year, they were 45 or so. They were ahead of 3-4 Big Ten teams, but they're recruiting. Everybody thinks he's a great recruiter. He was okay a couple of years there, but the last 2-3 years he signs his guys early. He takes the 3 stars early that he can get, and he's the talent is just not, quality. They've had some transfers and they've had some guys they developed to turn into real good players, but they're it's when you look at the recruiting ratings, they're where they belong, down there fighting to get a win.
And here's the thing, Patrick: if you couldn't win the Big Ten West any of these last 3 years, and I guess they still have a chance this year. Even if they go 5-4, there still is a chance if Iowa loses a couple times. Like, these teams are just that bad, especially with the outcomes yesterday. But it's kind of over after this. If you couldn't win it those years, like, you saw the schedule that came out, right? It's like, it's next year. I mean, next year, I just pulled it up. You got starts Big Ten, home against Iowa, at Michigan, home against USC, at UCLA, bye week, home against Maryland, at Illinois, at Rutgers, Penn State, at Wisconsin. Like, it's
And the thing you got to look at right now, Rutgers is better than they are now. I mean,
Rutgers is not bad anymore.
Rutgers is like top 5 in the Big Ten. So at Rutgers, if this team isn't considerably better next year than they are this year, you're looking at 4-8.
Yes, I mean that's just it. You're looking at, like, the Big Ten schedule is first of all, it's really hard just in general, but with the new format. You got Michigan and Penn State and USC, UCLA, Wisconsin, Iowa. Like, those are all teams that generally have been better than the Gophers have. So there's you look at that and you say, I don't see a whole lot of games where they are going to be the better team unless they're better next year.
Yeah, they're going to have to. Pick her up for sure, and it's it was just they didn't look like we had many folks in the stands either. Just from a distance, it looked like they announced 42, but it looked like about 35. Wasn't that long ago, 2 months ago, where we were bragging about our sellouts, and nobody's ever done that like I've done it. And now the last Saturday was a gorgeous day.
It was nice all day.
They end up blowing that game, and it's I don't know what the people are now. They're saying, I went on Twitter with this, and I'm Dave Schwartz, and I listened to a little bit of the WCCO thing, the old Sid show with Pete and Jaren and Dave was saying, how hot, he's a big Gopher fan, I guess, and how hot is PJ Fleck's seat? Well, it's not hot at all. He'd have to go 4-8 3 years in a row to get fired here, for goodness sake. So, I mean, there's some discontent.
Yeah.
But the idea that, they're going to run him off with all the money they got invested in him was idiotic. So maybe that wasn't what he was saying either. But it's just that, it's not. He's not going to get applauded when he runs down the street if things keep going like that. Walks down the street, but he's certainly not in any danger. And guess what? There's not any danger of him leaving anymore either.
No.
I don't
No,
think Michigan State's going to come knocking. Hey, by the way, Iowa. Did you see the Iowa? The
I saw
first
this.
place
I saw the
Hawkeyes,
score. It was 10-7, right?
10-7. They blocked a punt and marched in from the 25 for their touchdown. They had a 25-yard drive after a blocked punt. And then at the end of the game, the guy kicked a 53-yard field goal. And that was it.
That's it. That's all you need.
It's unbelievable.
That's all it takes to be in the first place in the Big Ten West. All you got to do is score 10 points against one of the worst teams in the league, and then have all the other three teams lose to inferior opponents that you were
And
tied
Wrigley
with.
Field was still full of white Hawkeyes fans. They played in the Wrigley Field, and there was all those, how could you go and watch? How could you go spend money to watch that collection? Oh my God, it's awful.
I wonder how many Cubs homes. I wonder how many Cubs home games there were this year where there were more than 17 runs scored.
That's true. The wind was blowing out.
The wind was blowing out. It was a 10-7 game.
It is too bad that the punt return wasn't a touchdown, because then you could really make fun of the way they've won all their games. Like they should just go out and punt. When they get the ball, they should just punt. And then play defense and hope the other team punts back to you, and maybe you can score a touchdown. But they blocked a punt and drove 25 yards. And that quarterback was the worst player in the history of football. He was out there again. He threw for 65 yards or something like that. Unbelievable.
That could be.
And they're in first place.
Think about it. They could just chug into the Big Ten title game again at they could go 6-3 and have everybody else lose again and just go get absolutely demolished. They're not going to touch the scoreboard if they get into the Big Ten title game. It's just their offense is so bad. It's unbelievable.
So the whole league is turned on Michigan now, and they're demanding action. So what are they going to do?
I don't know. They should suspend Harbaugh is what they should do. Do something to Harbaugh.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to really not let them advance to are you going to disqualify them from the Big Ten championship game or something?
Here's what you do. They play Penn State this coming weekend. Let's bring in a special Let's bring in a special officiating crew.
Yes, that could be, and then Harbaugh throws a sideline tantrum, and so it's a quandary for the Big Ten, that's for sure. The new commissioner, whoever that is, can deal with it, but I don't know what Harbaugh still saying. I didn't know the guy.
Yeah, yes, you do. Come on.
I'm standing next to him on the sideline, right? But I don't know. Yeah, he's deny everything. What the hell? Make him catch you. But Michigan, though, I guess the story that came out last week was that they stopped negotiating with him they took the extension offer off the board. Meanwhile, they talk about defense. Oof. They're unbelievable. They don't give you anything.
Yeah. They're a great team, but
if they play Iowa in the Big Ten title game, Iowa will have 7 yards.
Yes.
Minus 22 yards.
53-2. They'll block a punt out of the end zone for a safety, and that'll be their scoring.
I don't know. Fleck drives me nuts, though, with it's all on me. Okay, what's on? Tell me.
What'd you do? Tell me more about that.
And then he immediately goes to the quarterback threw the ball too hard on that little short pass that would have won the game. Well, he did, but so that wasn't on. That wasn't on you. So that takes away the all on you because the quarterback made that stupid throw. Okay, so then it's not all on you. It's I don't know. Why he feels the need to say that every time to the point where when he doesn't say it, it doesn't mean anything is beyond me. So,
oh god.
But you could still you already got the pig. You could get the axe. And you could keep the axe too because Wisconsin's no good. So
didn't get the jug. Came up a little short in the jug game, but you can get the pig and the axe. You've already got you've already got the axe. You just got to keep the axe. So anyway. Hey, really quick, we got Timberwolves and Celtics at Target Center tonight. Now, the Wolves and Wild had already started to help rally the weekend with good games Saturday. The Wild coming back from down 3 against the Rangers, who are one of the best teams in the
3-0 at the end of the first period.
They had to pull the Gus bus. He gave up 3 goals on 4 shots. Fleury comes in and does well. They rally. They win 5-4 in a shootout. Wolves cruised against the Jazz, winning a game you're supposed to win, although the Jazz aren't that bad. They're not necessarily trying to win, but they're not like a tanking team. They win. That was like 123-95 was the final there. They've held 4 of their 5 opponents under 100 points. They have the best defensive rating, I think, still in the NBA. I mean, they said they wanted that to be their identity. So far, it is.
Yeah, we got to pay 2 large guys, but I think Boston. I don't know if everybody's going to be playing for Boston. You never know, but I think they're the best team in the league. So I would guess they could have their hand. We'll see about the defense tonight because that is really a good team, Boston. So, but yeah, it should be. The crowds have been good. I think they sold her out again, right? 18,000 something on Saturday. So, yeah. So they're the crowds have been good, and there's enthusiasm for this team. And Chip had a great column on Naz Reid.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
About everybody. I said yesterday on Twitter, I said Joshua Dobbs is even more popular than Naz Reid now, and the Naz Reid is the standard for popularity now, it'll be a fun ball game tonight. I may I don't know, I may watch it on television since I don't have to write, but it's the Celtics are quite the team, I think, and did the Bucks screw up the whole operation here or something? They're off to a shaky start with making the trade.
It's early, but they gave up a lot of defense when they made that swap at point guard. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Damian. I'm not sure that that was a good trade because the other guy would guard you. So
yeah, Holiday was a good defensive player. Yeah, it was kind of it makes sense, and maybe it'll make more sense. But it wasn't like you hadn't won the other way. You had won a championship the way you had it. So I don't know.
Here's the other thing: how do we know if this is an in-season tournament game or not?
How
did we? Because we've already had a couple, right?
The Utah game was for sure.
It was?
I think it was, wasn't it? No, maybe it wasn't. There was some of the games this weekend were in-season tournament games. Maybe the Utah one wasn't. I don't know.
They had an LA game. One of the LA games was and they got a different court for the
perfect.
Did you know that? They got a different court for the in-season tournament games, and it's some fancy court. Yeah, well, I don't know. Or they should tell us when it's. Yes. They should tell if we're going to build this up into something. We should know when it's a tournament game.
I saw someone making fun of it on Twitter, making a good point of the day. It's like they went through all this trouble, come on up with a format, how this is going to impact the standings, and they forgot to name it. They just called it the in-season tournament.
They don't. Yeah, that's right. They can make it a memorial for somebody.
Something.
I don't
it's just the in-season tournament. It's all it is. It's the in-season tournament.
Oh God, yeah. It's. I don't know though. We can sell the World Baseball Classic if it actually means something, and although throw darts at the wall to see who's going to play. But, so I guess maybe you can sell this. The NBA can sell anything now, too. Yeah. So we'll see if it works or not. But, yeah, I guess the only way to tell is if you get to the arena and the court looks funny, it's an in-season tournament game. That's
there you go. Maybe the new name could be the in-season court looks funny tournament.
Yes, that could be it. That could be quite a weekend, though, ladies and gentlemen.
So
Mike and I were talking before we started this. This is why a few years ago I thought sports writing was what I wanted to do, just for this.
Yes,
great wins, terrible defeats. It's we always root for the non-routine, and that football weekend was not routine. You gotta admit that it was a fantastic weekend. And if you're a fan, it was perfect because you could be despondent and then you could be elated, and that's you go to. you go to events to become emotional, and you were emotional on both ends of the spectrum this weekend.
The Vikings have been awfully good about not routine. They sure
Yes,
they are
yes.
kind of starting with the Minneapolis Miracle. I mean, probably going back further than that, but starting with the Minneapolis Miracle on forward, the whole Cousins era feels like every game is one possession, and that was the ultimate one.
And now we have Viking fans, hardcore Viking fans, who are also hardcore Kirk fans, who are not happy because we could all say, "Boy, look how good it is when they got a mobile quarterback."
Yes.
They don't like that. I was making fun of that, and some of the Kirkies said, they would have won by 2 touchdowns if Kirk had been playing. So I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about that. They put up the most points all year yesterday. I don't know. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens next weekend. Patrick, appreciate it as always. We'll see you.
All right, Mike.